Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities, free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of basis and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. We'll have approval of the minutes from the regular public meeting of September 9th, 2019. I have a motion.
I have to recuse myself. I wasn't present last one.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
I was not present last month.
Okay. Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. President Howard?
I abstain as though I was not present.
Okay. Passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, courtesy of the floor.
Is that you buzzing? Rebello Bertoni?
Good evening, folks. Rebello M. Bertoni, 4450 Sanibel Drive in Whitehall. And I'm here to be on record that I am very strongly opposed to the resolution to rezone the property off of Spruce Street in Egypt from R1 to R3. And a little history lesson for some of you who maybe have not been on the board for a length of time. This is, to my recollection, at least the third time I've lost count that this has been before the township for rezoning, and every time it's been denied, it's been turned down. There's some major issues here. Number one is traffic. The traffic would dump out onto Spruce Street. That's an extremely narrow roadway. Even the part with parking on one side, 2 cars can barely get by. You know, somebody has to pull over. It dumps out at a bad intersection on Main Street. It's an angle intersection. That's 1 block from 145. The traffic backs up. You know, the other way to get out to Main Street's Roosevelt Street. That has parking on both sides. Another street where 2 cars can barely pass. That exits out at a very bad intersection with a history of accidents. The other thing that's added to the mix here is you have the old factory there that's sooner or later going to be apartments. That's going to add how much traffic to the mix. You know, the other way to exit is Spring Street. Forget about that. I can't handle it. Stormwater runoff is another issue. You know, this potential project is right next to the Meadows Edge project, and when that was put in back in the 80s, the township was very adamant that a swale be put in to carry the runoff down to the retention pond at Phillips and Adams Street. Over the years, certain events occurred which are not for discussion tonight, but when there's heavy rainfall, it backs up onto the properties to the rear of Phillips Street, floods my property. My neighbor 2 doors down just had to spend $8,000 to rip out his swimming pool and get his entire backyard regraded because it flooded through and ruined it. What's going to be the result if we add another bunch of houses basically on the same hillside? And I don't even want to think about what the result is flooding downstream, going down toward Spring Street and into the Spring Creek. Now, it's also my understanding that this time the developer is trying to sweeten the pot a little bit by offering the township whatever land is not developable as open space and parkland. And I wonder how much land the township actually needs or wants. Do we have the resources to take care of the property that we have now at taxpayer expense? And don't get me wrong, there is no one in this room that's a bigger proponent for open space and land preservation than myself. Those of you who know me know that. But there's another way of doing it besides taking it off the tax rolls, incurring it at township expense, and sacrificing a big chunk of that land to jam 3 times as many houses in there as is currently allotted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now, Rebello. The other Rebello Bertoni?
Maybe they want to wait.
Rebello E. Bertoni, 4424 Spruce Street, Whitehall, PA. Been a resident of Whitehall all my life, and I live at my address for 52 years. So I'm not a new boy on the block, okay? I am not in favor of this proposal to rezone this tract of land for a bunch of reasons, in which I will enumerate. First of all, stormwater. Stormwater is done pre and post. You figured out the calculations as raw land, then you figure out the calculations for when it's built, roads, whatever. And you take the difference of that volume and you store it in a pond, okay? A good example is the latest development up on Church Street in Egypt. The ponds are right next to the road, okay? Those were designed to hold the water, that's new water coming off the track there. The water that's gonna come off the track and in the pond, when it exits the pond on the outflow, where's it gonna go? Down the street and have the same conditions we have now, flooding out people. Or putting it in a pipe and piping it down to Spring Street and Spring Creek. Okay, when that happens, can a channel, that's existing channel now, hold that additional storm water, and will it flood out to people there? So those are concerns there. Traffic. I checked my zoning ordinance, which I'm very familiar with, and I find out that you're going to have about 3 units per acre. A little more, but depends on the infrastructure and the pond and everything. So if you take the roughly 50 acres and you have 3 units, that's 150 lots, 150 dwellings, plus the additional 49 that you're going to get from the Egypt Pants factory that was rezoned through the courts. And plus there's an additional 8-unit townhouse development that just went in on the north of Spruce Street on Roosevelt Street. So you're talking, let me get my numbers here. Say the 3 times 50 is 150, and the apartment complex there is going to be, let's say, one car, right? So you have, you're talking 150, 150, 50, and 8. So that's 208 units, okay? Let's figure 2 cars. Some people have 4 cars. Some people have 3 cars. But let's just take 3 cars, 2 cars. So you're talking, what, 400 units? Where are those people gonna go? Our area, the infrastructure wasn't planned to handle this type of increase in traffic. Egypt started about 1800 in the area where the hotel is now, okay? Our end, upper end there, dates back to 1900, 1910. I'm sure if they realized what was happening today, they'd make the streets as wide as could be. But in those days, it was great. So the increase in traffic it's going to be rough, especially at the choke points, which is the top of Spruce Street and Main, and another choke point is Roosevelt, Main, and the other street that goes in there. So we're going to have problems. And another thing I'd like to bring the board's attention to is previous projects that had been turned down. The developer, which was Spectrum Homes, came before the board for relief in zoning. That's on Scheide's Road. And the name of the street that's in the development is called Abigail Lane. So if when you know where it's at. That was turned down also. He wanted to have increase in area, add more homes, okay? The other area was off of Coon Lane, where the fire company is, and Mr. Eberhardt, who I talked to, and I have permission from him to use his name. Mr. Eberhardt proposed 55 and older community development back there, okay? Went through all kind of hoops, and I won't tell you the amount he told me that he spent for that. And it was turned down, was rejected. And at the end of the talk there, now these are his words. He was told that by the president of council at that time, we are not here to put money in your pocket, okay? We are not here. The board wasn't there to put money in his pocket, okay? So maybe that's another thing to consider too. Let's see, do I have anything else? Another thing that was said many times, and I've been before the Planning Commission, I've been between the board here many times, believe me. And one thing I remember the president of council saying that the comprehensive plan is only a guideline. It is not law. And I remember having that said in a meeting here. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. And most of all, I'd like to thank the people that came here to support the community and voice their opinion. I thank you very much.
David Lokitz.
Good evening. My name is Dave Loikitz. I'm here with my wife Donna.
Your address, please.
We live on
Your address, please.
4401 Spruce Street in Whitehall, right on the corner of Spruce and Adams. That's the intersection where half the cars come by. There's a three-way stop sign there. That's the intersection where half the cars that go that way fly through the stop sign. We add another, as Mr. Bertoni just got done saying, we add another 400 cars or something. I realize they all won't go that way, but a lot of them will. It's only going to compound the problem. I don't want a red light in front of my house. That's all I really have to say. That I'm dead against it. They said it. They said everything I would be saying, so I relinquish my time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Denise
Rogers. Or Dennis Rogers? Is there any Rogers in the house? I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Denise Rogers. I live at 4433 Spruce Street. And I have to agree with what they said. And my only addition to that is the wildlife that's up in that area also. There are coyote and there are deer up there that, you know, if you build homes up there, I mean, where are they gonna go? Wind up in people's backyards. People are gonna be complaining. Then it's gonna be a township issue because of, you know, the wildlife up there. But I do agree with what was previously said with the traffic, the water runoff, the schools, like you build houses, we have more students, you know, more kids. You know, is Whitehall equipped to handle all the extra students that would be going to the schools? You know, is the Whitehall school area able to expand? I don't know how much land they have there. Are they able to expand? You know, so I agree with what everybody else said, and those are my additions. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of courtesy of the floor. We'll move on to public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 49-2019, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a settlement agreement and release with M&F Associates III LLC, Frank A. Chimmix and Vicky A. Chimmix, and UGI Utilities Incorporated to execute a deed of easement right-of-way and to execute a termination of easement on behalf of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's a first hearing
Oh,
Oh, it's not on there.
on the workshop. It is.
yeah, it was on the last one, yeah, sorry. Moving on. Bill number 50-2019, an ordinance amending the codified ordinances of Whitehall Township, Chapter 5, Code Enforcement, Article 2, Plumbing Code by updating, deleting, and revising certain provisions of the local amendments to the 2015 International Plumbing Code, IPC, to provide more consistency with the code and eliminate dated provisions. Do I have a motion on this?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And any comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
And President Howard.
Yes.
Motion, bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 51-2019, an ordinance amending the codified ordinances of Whitehall Township, Chapter 5, Code Enforcement, Article 5, Property Maintenance by updating Chapter 10 regarding inspections and certificates of occupancy existing structures. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, at the last meeting, I brought up a suggestion about should sidewalks be included as part of an inspection? And it's because this is where a current homeowner is selling the property, probably gonna make some money on it. Somebody buying a property is putting an investment down. And I asked if it was a time to put in a sidewalk inspection, and it sounds like the advice I was given was that we wouldn't want to hold up any closure because of a sidewalk dispute. Is there any document where we would probably accelerate an inspection on a sidewalk? I know we do with the street maintenance program, but we don't, I'm looking a way to be proactive about properties that have sidewalks in disrepair when there's a transfer of money going on. Can it be in there as a suggested item and not something that's predicated on a closure? Or is this not the appropriate time?
There's a lot of questions there.
Well,
The only hesitancy that I have is because they're two separate, totally separate ordinances, and the enforcement is totally separate. And the sidewalks are not on the private property, they're in the public right-of-way. We have remedies available to us as a municipality, as a first-class township, to effectuate the repair and replacement of walks That is not any part of the building code, property maintenance code issue. And when you're going after a property, whenever it's being transferred, you're going after that piece of real estate that is entirely owned by that property owner. It's not the right-of-way. And that's my biggest reservation. I have a litany of them. This isn't the first time this has come up. I understand what you're saying. I mean, my suggestion would be is that we look at the streets and sidewalks ordinance and the standards by which that we require replacement of walks or repair of walks. If you want to make it more frequent, Carl will run away, but it is what it is. But I mean, right now, you're right. The triggers are subdivision, land development, street improvement. It used to be more years ago. The board at the time, over the years, pulled it back because it was an enormous task. I wish there was an easy fix. I gotta tell you, though, I haven't seen it yet.
Any other comments or questions?
I do have
Yeah,
one, just
okay.
if you're okay with it.
You go ahead.
I did give to the board on page 1 of the attachment. There was the first paragraph had a question basically that I was asking the solicitor's office for some direction on, and I didn't want you to adopt the ordinance with the question in it. I did get direction from the solicitor's office, so I gave you the revised ending of the paragraph, just to point that out, okay? That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 52-2019, an ordinance amending the codified ordinances of Whitehall Township, Chapter 18, Sewers and Sewage Disposal, by revising the title of the chapter to Water Supply and Sewers and Sewage Disposal, and updating Article 1, Sewage and Industrial Waste, to add Articles 3, On-Lot Subsurface Sewage Disposal Facilities, Sewage Management Program, and Article 4, Public Sewer and Water Availability. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
And President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 53-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for providing and installing of traffic.
Installation. It's
An
not
installation, I'm
installation.
sorry. See, I was reading it and I was thinking that was an error, but it's not, now that I read it again. Let me start over, just for your sake, Mr. Sloniker.
For your sake.
Yeah, I don't wanna get you, I don't wanna confuse you anymore.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
I understand, I'm easily.
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for providing and installation of traffic signal equipment modifications for the Traffic Control Division of the Township of Whitehall, bid number 2019-29, in accordance with Section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
And President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 54-2019, this is also a first hearing. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of 2 correction deeds from the County of Lehigh for property located within the Jordan Creek Park on the east side of Mickley Road in the Township of Whitehall, County of Lehigh, with respect to an approximately 20.13 acre parcel identified as tax parcel identification number 549-759-931-986-1 and an approximately 5.804 acre parcel identified as tax parcel identification number 5498602744514-1.
You got it. You have that.
Do I have a motion?
Is this
No,
first-
it's a first hearing. See?
Oh, I'm sorry.
See? Again.
He's confused all the time.
No, I'm not. I said it was a
Me,
first reading.
Not you.
Boys,
Yeah.
boys, boys.
The good part is I get to read all those numbers again next month. That's what I'm looking forward to. Bill number 55-2019, an ordinance deferring the required installation of curbing and sidewalks along the MacArthur Road and Municipal Drive frontages of 3219 MacArthur Road for a distance of approximately 1,248 feet as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 56-2019, an ordinance deferring the required installation of sidewalks along the Quarry Street frontage of 4601 Quarry Street for a distance of approximately 378 feet as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board?
I just want to say that I know that it's a real hardship to get sidewalks in there. I mean, the geography is the geography. I'm all about sidewalks. I'm worried about the school kids because Quarry's tough. It's a tough road. But I looked at it and I looked at it hard. And engineering-wise, it can be done, but the cost is so prohibitive, you would never develop that property if you had to get into that bedrock. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments or questions? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, nay. Commissioner, let's see, Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Yay.
Yeah, there's an aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
I throw you off.
And President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 6 ayes, 1 nay.
Public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3082, a resolution for sewage facility plan revision for a new land development of property located at 1253 and 1257 Catasauqua Road, Whitehall Township, Whitehall, PA, index number 1733-07. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
President Howard?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3083, a resolution approving Belmont Glen Condominium Association's proposed removal of a portion of the fence located on their property and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an indemnification agreement with, and covenant running with the land in connection therewith. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board?
Yeah. Legally, where are we at with this?
From what I understand from the mayor and from Sarah, we are The last question that was asked was whether there was liability for the municipality if we were to sign this, and the answer is yes, if we were to go forward with it. There's obviously some liability because it abuts property that we have responsibility for.
Let me ask this.
Mhm.
If they indemnify us, but on their private property, on the interior that meets their yards is actually going across the back of their yards?
This is the swale there?
Yeah, well, it would be on the northwest side of the swale if, I don't know.
You'll have to forgive me, I'm not
direction
as
it runs.
familiar with this one.
All right, the fence runs down both sides of the swale. One side basically runs down the back of their properties.
Picture this.
The other side sort of meets the public right-of-way, the pathway. What I'm trying to do is negotiate something here. I don't want to completely turn them down, but if it's on private property, isn't the homeowner basically responsible at that point, even if they indemnify us? I have pictures also, if anyone
I
wants to
have
see
it.
them.
The map's fine for that. So if the indemnification were to be, and I haven't reviewed the indemnification agreement, but as long as the indemnification agreement does maintain that the township has no liability for that, or the municipality has no liability for that, then that would be fine. But remember, any indemnification is only as good
Right.
as the person's submitting it, essentially. So if they ran out of money and were unable to support any type of litigation that were to be brought against, that would bring the Whitehall Township into it, that is something that could be potentially
But let me ask this.
expensive.
Each separate tract is owned by an individual,
Mhm.
and the HOA as a whole owns the public areas.
Correct, they own,
Now, if this fence is on their private property and not a common area, could we be held responsible? Their attorney would like to speak, I guess?
If I could answer that question.
Yes.
for Lisa Pereira. As
Sorry,
the-
yeah, you have to come up to the microphone, sorry.
And your name again?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. Lisa Pereira here. I just wanted to clarify that this is a condominium, so the areas in question are completely owned by the association.
Okay.
The unit owners only own their respective
So
home.
everything is common area,
Correct.
basically.
That's exactly right.
Got it.
So the association is responsible
So if
for
you
that.
indemnify us, the whole,
The whole community is doing that, that is correct. And again, as we mentioned last week, the association has agreed to the indemnification agreement that had been prepared by Attorney Murray. She and I had discussed this at length, and certainly the community members, and I do have one representative of the board with me this evening, Mr. Sharvala. The number of people utilizing this pathway is nominal. There are not many people that go there. And in addition, the concern was about the water coming through that area. They've experienced it now for several years, and there really isn't a situation where water is pooling and running through that particular area. So we really do believe that the liability that the township may be exposed to is nominal. And again, we would be willing and are willing to indemnify the township for anything that may come about on that particular property.
and just to kind of go along with what she was saying, that is true. This is not an individual homeowner because it's common areas, because it's an HOA. You would be going after the corporate entity that owns that, would be the person who's in it. If I understand correctly, they're the ones who have prepared the indemnification. It'll be between Whitehall Township
And
the
the association, the condominium association, that is correct.
so basically, the only thing that's deeded is the home itself, none of the.
The unit,
none of
that
the
is
green
correct,
areas.
exactly.
anything that is not owned by the individual is usually part of what's called the common area for any condominium declaration. Now, I haven't reviewed the declaration, but I assume it's similar in that respect.
That is correct, yes.
Next question. Frank, you knew you were gonna get drug into this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
From an engineering standpoint, are we creating anything we don't wanna create? And bear in mind that the Egypt Park will probably eventually add ball fields, which means some landfill and things going in against that property edge.
Well, in regard to the township property, if they're to develop that field, my guess would be that there would be a safety fence installed along that border regardless. All right, whether it's an outfield fence or something else. And even at the bottom of the slope, more than likely there'd be some kind of fence or other protective device down at the bottom of that hill. We're not really creating anything different than it's already there. Again, the whole fence issue along the swale acted as a warning device, is not a barrier. We wanted to make that clear. So that's, again, you're not creating anything,
Okay.
right? And that's, you're not creating any kind of danger that's not already there, okay, or any potential danger that's not already there.
Now, it was brought to our attention that you would be willing, or the association would be willing to provide warning signs in lieu of the fence, if necessary?
Yes.
Can you explain in more detail exactly where you guys are?
Well, we'd be willing to work with the township engineer. Our concern is that the cost of maintaining the fence is cost prohibitive for these 26 units. If there is something that would satisfy the township by way of some warning signage or whatnot, we are more than happy to entertain that. Again, that would be much more reasonable for us to spend money to put signage up, and we could work with them to do that.
Can I ask our attorney, if removing the fence and installing signage, is that, I know one's not, a sign's not gonna stop somebody from walking into the area.
And-
But legally, because there are warning signs up, if someone fails to heed them, are we still in the same boat?
There is still some potential liability, but there's potential liability even with the fence there.
Right.
I mean, it's a split rail fence.
Yeah, I
Anybody
mean-
wants to walk through it can walk right
Yeah,
through
I
it. It's
mean,
not
We're
stopping
I mean, this
anybody.
isn't a chain link fence from what I understand from what the mayor told me.
That's correct.
There is, we wouldn't have necessarily the issue with something like an attractive nuisance or something like that, but there is still, I mean, there's always going to be some liability, and I think Attorney Murray relayed that to you as well. But the warning signs do provide some protection for that. It shows responsiveness and intent, so that would provide some level of protection. And I believe that that is included in the agreement. Is that the intent, the indemnification?
We did not discuss that specifically. That just came out at our meeting last Monday, but certainly we would be willing to amend the indemnification to include that in there.
And that may be something the board would want to consider to provide an extra additional layer of protection. I'm sure Attorney Murray would tell you the same thing if she was here.
Frank, the macadam path,
Yes.
are there ADA requirements given the slope there?
No, that was a convenience path. It's not, the ADA regs to get to the park are within the park itself. You could drive into the park, there's parking available in the Egypt Park itself. This was just merely a convenience path for those folks who want to walk to the park or want to ride their bicycles, things like that. It's not meant to be an ADA approved path because it does not get you right to the parking lot. It does stop short. It gets to the field, all right, and then you're on your own. So there's no indication or any kind of intent to provide ADA access on that path.
Yeah, I was down there today and there were, I think, 3 posts on the township side that were down. With those posts are down, of course, the rails on either side are down. But I was wondering if there's a possibility that could be, those few posts could be fixed for a period of time, and hopefully maybe at some point something's done with the park, at which time then we could revisit the township side. I guess I'm concerned about the liability that the township would take on, given that it's our property now. Are we gonna be required to put up a fence in the interim?
I don't know.
I'm not, who was that directed to, Frank or myself?
I don't know.
Anybody who can answer.
I'm not gonna touch a liability question.
I mean,
I'm not gonna venture
As I
into
said,
that.
and as I said previously, there's always liability issues with these sorts of things. I can't ensure that there wouldn't be liability for the municipality in that case.
I could suggest in regard to the signage, currently there's no signs out there telling you why there's a fence there. All right, that wasn't part of the original plan. If we're going to go with, amend the agreement to add signage, at least informational signage that, if there's water flowing in the channel, please do not pass these signs for safety reasons. Perhaps those could be put on both sides of the channel, facing the township side as well as the condominium side.
And that would provide additional protection as well, because you've put the person on notice of the potential liability. But we would again have to include that in, if we just were to pass the resolution without that, we would have to, we want to put that in the agreement.
Could we pass the resolution with the understanding that
You
we're
can
going?
pass the resolution subject to that.
Subject to
being-
this?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Subject to that understanding.
The big question with this signage thing, what we're mainly attracting in that area, I believe, are children playing because of the park next door. There's your parks next, adjacent to this property. And children playing and signs don't enter here, I don't correlate the two. They're not, young children playing aren't gonna stop to read signs. At least in my opinion, I can't see it happening. I can't see an 8-year-old child playing or trying to get to the park down in that area and stopping and reading a sign with all this verbiage in it. I don't.
Again, Commissioner Ginder, you're not incorrect. But
How about, there was mention made today about maybe planting a row of trees along that area. Arborvitae or something like that, trying to create some type of natural barrier, just to throw out there.
Well, and again, that is something we would have to check with, if that's something that the HOA would be willing to do.
I mean, you could plant trees, that's pretty much a once and done thing in our lifetime,
And that's certainly, unfortunately, I don't have the board with me this evening. I do have one representative, and that's something we can certainly take back to them.
I mean, if that's something that the Board of Commissioners would like to explore, this can be tabled for the evening, and we could reach back to them.
I don't
can
mean
make
to
it
hold
subject
this
to
up. Is there any interest in, if there's no interest in this, I don't mean to hold this up. I would like to get the problem solved.
I just have concern with the township side of the property in that the whole fence isn't falling down at the moment.
But it's there.
Yeah, I mean, 3 posts are gone. If you were telling me a year from now it's gonna be down, I don't know.
Well, nobody could tell you that for sure, but
My feeling is this: I would rather get it right than take a vote on it now and have it go down for whatever reason or pass for whatever reason. I'd rather get it right. Anybody else feel that way?
Just for clarification purposes, just so we can take it back to the board, you would be looking to have arborvitae just on the portion of the township's property, correct?
the side against the playground, yeah.
Okay.
What's on the residents' side, let them each be responsible for their own areas there. I don't mean to dictate what the residents have to do on their side of the property.
They're not, though. It's still a common area.
It's still a common area, but within the homeowners association, that's their business as far as I'm concerned. But against the township property, I mean, you have to look at this. We required a fence, I don't know, is it 10 years ago when this property was developed? About 10 years?
2007, I think.
2007, 12 years ago. And there was a reason for that at that time, that we required that fence to be in there. And I just, putting signs up to me with trying to keep children back from getting into that area, I just don't see that going anywhere. Trees wouldn't be that expensive to plant in there, I don't believe. And it's a once and done,
Is this something that we could discuss with the township solicitor and township engineer and then come back for the November meeting? I think we can have an
Yeah, I
answer in
think-
time for
I
that.
mean,
Yeah, I'm not looking to punt it into the new year. I just think that I'd rather get it right.
No, understood.
What we'll do, I'll reach out to Attorney Pereira.
Pereira.
And I will get some answers for you guys for the next meeting. That would be the best way to do it. We'll have the agreement drafted, if that's the case, to address that, if that's okay, and then everybody can review that prior to the next meeting.
Yeah, and whatever is chosen as the buffer in there is, I don't think we need to be involved in that, just that, there's some type of natural buffer in there.
So do I need Ann and Joe to rescind their motions and then just table it?
I would ask you to rescind them and then table it. That's probably the easiest way to do it,
Okay.
rather than vote it down.
Right. Ann, rescind your motion?
Yeah, I rescind my motion.
Joe?
Retract my motion.
And then, so resolution number 3083 will be tabled. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Shade Tree Committee, instead of arborvitae, I would recommend eastern white cedar. It'll be cheaper and its native tree will grow quite quickly.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep, very good.
I just wanted to say, I was bringing Jason up to speed on the situation because Sarah wasn't going to be here this evening. So did my best to recount what the dialogue was last week, and I think I did that effectively.
We're good. Moving on to motions. Motion to refer the proposed ordinance captioned an ordinance amending the official zoning map of Whitehall Township by rezoning an approximately 49.8760 portion of the parcel located at 4500 Spruce Street, Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, tax parcel number 55803-214-5765-1, owned by the Residuary Trust of Andrew Yastashak, from R1, very low density residential, to R3, low medium density residential, and by rezoning the remaining approximately 29.1240 acre portion of the parcel located at 4500 Spruce Street, and the entire approximately 12.2 acre parcel located at Spring Street, Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, tax parcel number 55802-379-7063-1, owned by the Residuary Trust of Andrew Yastashak, from R1, very low density residential, to OS1, open space, to the Whitehall Township Planning Commission and the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission for comment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question. There was a comment made earlier by one of our citizens that there was something said about land given to us in lieu of. I never heard anything like that.
This project that I would present tonight should stand on its own merit, should be evaluated like that. There are no other plans. We're asking for approximately 49 acres. Out of the entire cardboard area there is about 155 acres. All right? We're asking this area up in here, up against Meadows Edge, is the area that has gravity sewer. That's the area that we're asking to be zoned R3, right up against the R4. The rest of all of this is presently zoned R1. There are no plans for that. It normally remains R1. We have no plan of any kind to do anything with that land. So that is, the future of that is undetermined at this point.
Can I just respond to the question that Joe offered here? During the initial conversations that we had when Mr. Udicello came to speak with us, he did suggest that they want to have this area that could be served by sanitary with gravity flow. The rest of it, he said, he would be willing to cede it to the township. So he did make that comment. We have attempted to make sure that there's no quid pro quo here. And that was discussed with the legal and legislative group. So this is an independent request. Whether the township takes the land or not, and I think there's been some pushback about that, is irrelevant to the action you're taking here this evening. But I just want to clarify for everybody here that that was part of a conversation that happened when we first met with Mr. Udicello. And it was made clear that that was a standalone circumstance.
Commissioner Mark, that actually was brought up at Legal and Legislative, and we did say that we couldn't make any type of quid pro quo offer because it
Right.
would be considered contract zoning. So
Right, it's a slippery slope. Right,
exactly.
we're giving
So
one for the other.
We
right.
that was flat out rejected at the initial discussion, and this matter is what it is before the board. There can be no additional promises. So it is a standalone project that the commissioners will have to make a determination.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear so our citizens realize that there's no backdoor deals made or anything like
Correct.
that.
As a member of the Legal and Legislative Committee, the township has enough land, we don't need any more that we need to handle. Sorry, that's my opinion. I don't know about anybody else, but that's my opinion. Any other comments or questions?
This go in front of the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission?
Yes, the motion tonight is to send it to the Planning Commission, and it's not to approve the property or anything of that nature, it's just to send it there for their comment.
To both our planning commission and the Lehigh Valley
Right.
Planning Commission.
Yeah, and let that, please let that be known. The decision here is not to rezone this tonight. The decision, what we're voting on, is to send it to the Township Planning Commission for comments, and also the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission for comments. We are, when you hear yes and no tonight, it's not to zone or rezone. It's to send it for comments from our Planning Commission.
And they in turn will send it back to us with recommendations, and then we'll vote, you know,
They will look at
if they
things.
meet all the criteria.
The Planning Commission will look at a lot of things that were mentioned tonight. If I'm out of line,
I was gonna say, actually, rather than have the commissioners do it all, I can explain the process a little better. This matter is being referred to this will be referred to the Planning Commission.
You can explain it better than us? I'm just kidding, that's why I know, we're paying you to sit here,
yeah,
go ahead.
that's why we're
Have at
paying
it.
you the big dollars.
I'm just sitting in for.
Have at it, man. You know I'm just messing with you, have at it.
I'm getting out of range.
Hey, don't make me throw stuff up here. Kinder, throw something at him.
No, it's not my turn.
Well, no, but rather than have the board explain it, it's pretty simple. This is being referred to the Planning Commission of Whitehall Township and to the County Planning Commission. They will make comments, it will come back, and then an actual vote will be had on the rezoning, whether this will be approved or not. This is just to learn what potential issues would arise according to professionals.
If I may add, and I don't get paid to add, what the Planning Commission will look at is many of the things the residents and the developer have brought up through this process. They will start looking a little more at traffic, what's going on in the area, and does it fit in?
Stormwater, all those things.
Doesn't it fit, stormwater? Those things will start to be looked at in detail then. Resident has a question.
Yeah, but if you guys
You gotta come up to the,
You know the-
sorry.
You know the deal. You've been here before. Name and address.
Name's Keith Lutz, 4238 Phillips Street, Whitehall, PA. But if you guys stop this thing now, then it's done.
Well, I think our attorney can explain the other avenues that they can take moving forward.
If it's denied, he could, of course, file litigation to argue it.
Okay, but that being said, why don't you just deny it now?
I can't answer that question.
They can deny it now.
Oh, yes, we can.
Good, yes.
But what I'm getting at is, what he just explained to you was, then they can force litigation. And I just want to make that clear.
I would also point out that the Planning Commission meetings, both of them are public hearings. So
Yes.
you'll have the opportunity to address these issues with planning.
You still didn't answer my question. If you guys say no now, it stops now.
No,
Because
it
you've
doesn't.
already been
It
brought up.
doesn't.
Not
There's been other ones
necessarily.
denied.
It doesn't stop here.
Stops now until they would possibly do legal action to further it, and then it would be in front of us again.
Or submit a new plan.
It's not cut and dry like you're saying. Simple as that.
Can I,
And when you're,
And I'm sure you've followed a number of properties real close to, I think, where you live. We've shot down properties in the past, and some judge in some county says, hey, no, you can do it. So to sit and say that we can just stop it, we can just say no and it stops here is not factual. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not so much factual, but you'll get the point across to the people in the township that you don't want it either.
Well, there's a lot of things that we didn't want that we're also looking right back at it right now, right?
To me, you can start now by letting people know around here that you're concerned about what you're developing.
Don't take any vote up here whether we're concerned or not concerned. We are concerned. That's why we have a planning commission. That's why we have a township planning commission and a county planning commission to look into every issue that was raised tonight, if it were to go forward. And as our solicitor said, those meetings are public as well, and I encourage every resident to attend those, if it were to go that way.
Okay.
But what you have to remember today is to spend the taxpayers' money prudently and not get it thrown away by the attorneys in the courts and end up with something that you could have prevented if you wished to prevent it, or passed if you wished to pass, without spending all this tax money on legal dollars. And not getting where anybody wants to be. Nobody's happy but the courts at that point. And I know it's kind of hard to understand until you've been through the ringer a couple times, and we have here lately over the last 2 or 3 years with this stuff. So it's better to follow the process, get all the facts out in public, that if you do end up in some type of suit, you've done your due diligence to get all the information necessary to make the decision you ended up with. I know that's somewhat hard to follow, and believe me, I'm a Dutchman, it's really hard to follow, but when you see the legal bills mound up in this township, you sometimes gotta change your thinking a little bit to do things a little more dollar smart. So that's why the point was made, don't feel a yes or no vote affects this tonight. This is just to go for more information and kind of follow the rules.
Okay.
Can I suggest that since we have Mr. Udicello here and many of the residents in the area there, that perhaps they might have questions of the plan as he introduces it to you at this point? I don't know that it's changing anybody's mind, but at least they'll see what's going on here.
Any further comment by the floor? I'm sorry, any further comment up here?
If this gets approved tonight, I would like to see that the residents know when those hearings are. I mean, not that it's buried in a advertisement that.
They're not hearings, they're planning commission.
Planning commission,
meetings.
yes.
It's not a hearing, it's an open commission meeting of the township. Planning commission meets on the third Wednesday of every month at 7:30.
The agenda's published in the paper.
It's on the
on the
township
website,
website. If it's gonna be on or not, just check the township website for the month that it'll be up. And if you have any questions, just call in the township.
Mrs. Drackis, if I'm not correct, the adjoining properties will be posted, correct? They will not at this, not at this point.
The way the state law works is there are not individual notices given to adjoiners. The posting will only be done in advance of your second hearing on the rezoning.
I know in the past, we've asked people that wanted to be notified of any upcoming hearing that they can give us their email or something that we've done. Would you be open to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever you want.
So we understand that if you want to be notified, we will notify you directly of any hearing. Again, if this moves forward, we will notify you of any hearing. Just got to let us know. Okay?
I don't have a tablet.
Yep.
We'll put paper up here if you want to be notified, please sign in. Please print legibly. I'm not good at figuring all that. Okay.
All right. Any other comment or question from the board? Any other comment or question from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Would be better if I explained a little bit.
If you want to do that, go ahead.
Okay, I don't know, I would
Yeah.
think they would be more in tune
Absolutely.
with what's going on. Okay, if that's okay. Hopefully they can.
Let's carry the mic with you, John.
I'm sorry, I would have brought an easel or something, I didn't realize, so if you all can all kind of see that, all that crazy configuration with the cardboard is the 155 acres that the Residuary Trust owns. Just so you have an idea, here is Spruce Street running straight through here, and Roosevelt is down here. This development right here is Meadows Edge. So our property goes right against the Meadows Edge property, which is zoned R4, 9,600 square foot lots. Now, our property is mostly level up in here with gentle slopes on the far end down up against Spring Street. There are 30-some acres of steep wooded land. Okay, that has to remain regardless, all right? Our request tonight of the board is to send it on, as they said, to the Planning Commission and Lehigh Valley Planning Commission to rezone up in this area the approximately 49 acres out of the 155, because this area up in here has public gravity sewer as well as public water. The Copley Whitehall Sewer Authority would be happy to serve it. Northampton Water Company would be happy to serve it. And right now, we have land that has public water and sewer and is zoned R1, 1 acre, 1 house per acre. That's not a very efficient zoning. It's almost kind of a waste of land, actually, the way it is. Now, we believe, now I can't prove this, but we believe, right? The way that zoning came about, I believe it was back around 1989, give or take, and Lee would know. If you would take this property, like if you can see that yellow with the black line going through it, this part over here, represented by the other side of that line, when they rezoned this property way back in the late 80s or early 90s, you see that line going through our property. Well, that line represents gravity sewer or no gravity sewer. So since it went right through the property and everything on the Spring Street side did not have gravity sewer, they couldn't rezone the same property, 2 different types of zoning. So instead, what they did was take this line, go over this way, down here, back over, and then down, and made like a U right around our property. It's like, well, the way it was, had it been deeded 2 separate deeds, this part probably would have gotten zoned R4 because that's what it's right up against. Over here, we see R5, we see R4. Over in this entire area over here is very high density zoning. We're not asking for that. We're asking for this part over here to be R3. R3 is roughly 12,000 square foot minimum, a very nice lot size for single family dwellings. It's not too much land for how should I say, retired couples if they don't want to be in an age restricted home. It's enough of a yard for young kids, young families to play with their kids. It's just a nice size, nice size. We're not asking for R4. Our proposal in this area would probably yield, the other gentleman, Mr. Bertoni Sr., wherever he is, talked about 150 units, not even close, okay? Most likely up in here, maybe 80 to 90. We're talking, after we take out the stormwater, we're talking about 42 acres that would be buildable. You usually get maybe a little bit over 2 units per acre. So up in here, we're probably talking, for talking purposes, let's say 90 units. 90 single family, 12,000 square foot or higher building lots. That's what we're really talking about, pushing on to the Planning Commission. Just to give you an idea of all of this, these 2 little squares down here in this corner, those are actually full-size soccer fields. I'm not saying the township wants soccer fields, but just to give you an idea of how much land this is, you could get 2 full soccer fields down in that area. Now, there was a comment about stormwater and traffic both, okay? Rather than an emotional hearing like tonight making those kind of decisions, it would seem to me to be the analytical, professional, let's get it right type of a decision to send it to the technical people, the Planning Commission, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, let them analyze it. If the traffic doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then it gets cut in half or it doesn't fly. If the stormwater doesn't work, it doesn't work. But for us to make that decision here when we've not looked at it in detail from an engineering standpoint and analyzed it and looked at it, not a real professional, qualified way to make a decision. We're asking tonight that this be sent to the people who know how to do that, who do it for a living, who are professional, who are analytical. They'll come back with recommendations, and this board has to say yes or no. If they say no, it's shot down. We either forget about it or come back with some other proposal. If they say yes, okay, then it was a yes based on an intelligent answer, based on qualified people analyzing it. That's in my opinion, the best way to go. That's the normal way to go. Now, a couple other comments. All right. Someone mentioned the comprehensive plan that was done several years ago, which recommended building on smaller sections and having more open space. That's exactly what we're talking, building on 40-some acres, and there'll be a little over maybe 105 acres or something like that. That'll be open. 99% of op chance never be built on. But building on smaller sections, having an open space, that's my understanding, that's the concept that Whitehall Township wants, open space up in the northern tier. And here's the interesting point. If we weren't here tonight, if the trust was not here, this is all zoned 1 acre. We could be here, not even coming before this board at this point, we could submit a plan directly to the Planning Commission and subdivide this into 1 acre building lots. It's zoned R1. That's a use by right. That means anybody can come in here and develop this with 1 acre lots. On this much area that's buildable, take away the steep slope area, but on this 100 and some acres over here, we probably would get 80 or 90 homes out of that. We could have 80 or 90 homes of 1 acre lots, the same amount of traffic, the same amount of stormwater, and no open space. Is that better? Or is it better to build on a little section and have the rest of it all open space? Whenever a subdivision is dedicated to the township takes over dedication and maintains the roads and curbing and storms and all that. Why not have just a small section to be maintained rather than a lot of long section where there's a lot of roads and more expensive to maintain? So we feel it's a very viable project. I'm told by the township people, there hasn't been a single family subdivision in Whitehall Township for over 15 years. I don't know that. I'm told by the people that are here. Maybe there's a demand for single family housing in Whitehall Township. It seems like a perfect place to put it. We're not talking condos, apartments, age restricted or anything like that. Just plain old single family homes for the people that are here. Okay, and one final comment. I think one final comment. Okay. There's also, well, maybe I don't even need to get it. The sanitary sewer. If anybody is familiar with 329 and Church Road, where that intersection is, I'm told by the township that that's a surge point for the sanitary sewage when there's rain or I&I problems or whatever. I don't know. This subdivision would connect. I have it on the other lot here. Would connect and bypass. It's going to be hard for you to see this, but we're up here. That's a connection point to prevent down here going to the surge point. So we would not only take all of our properties, sanitary sewer, bypassing that critical point, we would also pick up 40 or 50 homes that are our neighbors going into that critical point and bypass it. So we would be, as a peripheral benefit, we would be helping the sewer authority by taking away a lot of the flow from that surge point. So anyway, that's basically, I guess, my comments. I could elaborate on some smaller things, but if we just pass it on and let them evaluate traffic and storm sewer, I don't see the storm being an issue at all. We have plenty of slope to deal with. We have all this area over here. If we had to just dump stormwater onto there and let it infiltrate into the ground. There's a creek over there if we had to dump some into the creek. Whatever it is, I don't see, all of this would be draining that way, and I don't see it creating any kind of stormwater issues up here for anybody. As far as the traffic, one last comment on traffic. Yeah, if you come out on Spruce Street, you have 4 or 5 different ways to go. You can go left on Spruce up here to Spring. You could go left here. There's not that much there, but you can do that. You can come out this way and come out to 145. You can come down here, come out to 145, or go straight down to Church Street and go right, or go straight and go into town. There's a lot of different ways. We're not talking putting 80 or 90 cars all in one particular place. They can go a whole bunch of different places. So, but again, I think that should be analyzed by the professionals. Okay, I'm finished. Any questions?
What's the guarantee? You said open space. What's the guarantee you're gonna keep it open? Not 2 years down the road, you wanna put another development in and have that rezoned.
They would then, correct me if I'm wrong, have to come back here and then open it up. Once it's zoned open space, it's open space until it would have to be rezoned again. But a lot of that space that would be open
That-
space is unbuildable.
That doesn't mean they
Oh,
can't.
sorry, yeah, Lee, you wanna answer that question? But,
It's not that it's not buildable, it's 2 acre minimum.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, 2-acre minimum lot, I mean, for all practical purpose, that's not buildable. You would need to build $1 million estates to make those dollars work. But I mean, if it gets zoned OS1, I don't, that doesn't bother me, but right now it's R1, our proposal is over here. So this is dormant, it's being farmed by a Whitehall farmer. And we have no plans to change anything, to any rezoning of any kind. And no plans to build anything over there. All we're looking for is up here where the public gravity-fed sewer, and we've already talked to the Copley-Whitehall Sewer Authority, Dave Harleman. They're perfectly fine with this as long as it's gravity. They won't let any building down here where you got to pump it. They only allow gravity, and this is where the gravity is. So instead of that sewer line doing a jog around our property, if it would go straight through and this would be qualified, that's what we're asking for.
I don't want to throw anything into this, but the fact that you can have 2-acre lots, that means that there's going to be some people that maybe want that. Whether you think it's possible or not, they will. The other part is, there is way for people besides gravity-fed storage to go ahead and have pumping stations, and it's all over this nation. And to say that it's not gonna happen, I don't think you're presenting anything that's fair there. You're not, you're sort of saying, hey, it'll never happen. Well, we've had too many developers come in front of us that say, no, that'll never happen, and before you know it, 2 years go by, and all of a sudden, they change their minds, because, well, it's all predicated on how many dollars they can put in their pocket. Simple as that.
Okay, to answer that question, I'm perfectly fine if that goes OS1. It doesn't bother me at all. If that is better, that's perfectly fine with me. We're looking for 40-some acres here to be R3. This was in the ordinance is to be zoned OS1. This was not mentioned, it was R1. If it goes OS1, that's not a problem.
Again, all I'm trying to express
Oh.
is that I think we have, well, the board, we certainly have to look at it every different angle that we can.
I agree.
I know that the residents up in that area, they have strong views of what should be and what shouldn't be. So they're gonna take what you say and either dismiss it right away, or they're gonna say, well, maybe we should think about it. But for the most part, they're here tonight because I think, I'm not positive, that they're not in favor of it. You know, so.
And Another
is there-
misnomer,
yeah,
another
is-
misnomer that I believe you had made, and I'm not an engineer, is that you said that stormwater wouldn't be a problem because they were smaller lots and the storm management system would be consistent. But what you're doing is, your pervious to impervious surface, if I'm not correct, Mr. Clark, if they were R1, 1 acre lots, they would absorb a lot more water than, because of the impervious pervious surfaces. And I'm not saying that it will create a stormwater problem, but the potential is more because of the compact nature of the development.
Okay, and many times with large lots, let's say acre lots, we do, we do on-lot seepage pits to catch the roof water, et cetera, okay? But in terms of the, how should I say, the roof water being the same if the houses were the same on 1 acre lots or individual lots, okay? With a condensed area, you're gonna have less roadways. So I don't know that it's gonna make it worse. But the other thing that could be done, we've got 8 acres designated right in here for stormwater control. But if it had to go under the road and dump out on this open land and just infiltrate,
Well, see, the other thing is if you came in for a sidewalk waiver and curb waiver, see, that's another dynamic here. You can manage stormwater a lot better when there are curbs in place. If there are gonna be no curbs in this development, if that's gonna be part of the proposal, sidewalks, I don't know.
yeah, up here on smaller lots, I would want curbs, even if you didn't ask for it, but I'm sure they'll ask for it. We've never done a small, quarter acre, half acre type development without curbs. So that would certainly be something we would want. It's much easier to, on 1 acre lots or 2 acre, that's different, but not small ones.
You also stated when you first started your comments about 55 and olders living there, there's less lot maintenance. But then you later on said that this was gonna be a standalone residential area open to anyone. So you don't have any intentions on going 55 and older?
No, absolutely not. No, I'm under the impression, again, I can't speak in numbers, that there's enough 55 and over and apartments and condos and towns and all that in the township already. So that's why I don't know that there's been a single-family subdivision for a while. So that's why I say maybe just a lot of people out there, just young families or people looking, how should I say, the retirement people, but not willing to go into a smaller 55 and over. They still want their single space and a little garden and a little lawn to mow, but not enough to kill you every weekend. I mean, that size would seem to me to be perfect size.
Mrs. Rakis, when this was this rezoned during the comprehensive plan, during that process? Or why was it rezoned?
This, along with many other parcels throughout the township in 1989, 1990, 1991, the entire township zoning map was looked at, and the entire township was, for all intents and purposes, rezoned. There were very few pieces that were just, like R4 stayed R4, but the dimensional requirements changed. This property was R1, actually it was agricultural. That's what agricultural was. Agricultural and R1 are very similar. That was our, open space designation at the time before that ordinance changed. It wasn't that we specifically targeted this property, the entire township zoning was looked at that time. And that was when it became R1, but that's because we had a brand-new R1 district. What used to be R1 is now R4. Everything's different, but yeah, it wasn't just specifically this property, it was the entire township that was looked at.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary.
I want to make a comment.
You need to come up and state your name and
please.
So I'm Kathy Walker, and I live
Get
at
to the microphone.
4227 Phillips Street. I really don't need it. I'm pretty good at this.
it needs to be recorded, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. So 4227 Phillips Street, Kathy with a C, Walker. My property is right up against this tract of land. The gentleman started his comments by saying the land was wasted space. It's not wasted space. It's farmed. It's a beautiful piece of land that is currently being farmed, that's providing feed, food. I don't know what the farmer, how he sells it, but it's not wasted. So let's be clear that it is useful. I have no fact, but I understand that the farmer was interested in purchasing the land if it's not developed. So I just ask the board to keep that in mind as an option. It's insulting to say it's wasted, and it happens to be a beautiful part of the township where deer, where fox, where a lot of wildlife exists today. It would be a shame to give it up for 90 homes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You got to come up and state your name and.
How you doing? My name's Mark Washburn. I live at 4237 Phillip Street. I'm actually Kathy's neighbor. The one thing I think that gets forgotten with this is the amount of noise, the amount of dust for the new buildings, for people like us. You have professionals here, you have firefighters, police officers. I did it once. I lived in a new community, which in that community I knew there was going to be building going on. I worked third shifts, never could sleep. I don't think you understand these projects, the longevity, what's going to go into it. When I bought my property, part of the reason I bought it because it was an affordable place to live with a beautiful view. So this is going to be gone for a lot of people if anything like this goes through. But I really think you need to take into consideration all the professional people that are here. And I look at one back there, Jeff, he's a firefighter, double shifts. You know, guy comes home, tries to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and he's going to hear construction all day long. He sleeps during the day. I lived through it already, and I'm telling you, it's not fun. So that's it.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
No.
Commissioner Ginder?
No.
Commissioner Clary?
I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I really do. I just think this thing needs to be looked at a little further. So I'm going to say yay. Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
No.
Commissioner Fryman?
No.
Now, and again, I'm gonna vote aye, but the reason I'm voting aye, I think that the more you learn about something, no matter whether it's good or bad, the more you learn, it's better for all of us. So I'm voting aye that it goes to the planning commissions, so. And President Hauer.
No.
All right, so the motion is denied, 5 nays, 2 ayes.
Moving on, motion to designate Friday, October 20, listen, this is the most important thing of the night after all that. Designate Friday, October 25th, 2019, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as the official trick-or-treat night in Whitehall Township with a rain date of Saturday, Mr. Clary, October 26th, 2019.
Saturday.
Pray for rain. Pray for rain, Mr. Clary. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Sean. There will be no discussion, because this is the way it's always been. I'm sorry, is there any discussion on this? No discussion? Any comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Grudgingly.
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
And His Eminency President Hauer?
Dictator is okay? Yes, yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the reappointment of Richard Munshine to the Recreation Commission, term to expire September 30th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Clary.
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes,
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Move on to Board of Commissioners reports. Commissioner Marks?
Veterans Day is coming up. We're having multiple Veterans Day ceremonies. There's one right out front here. There's going to be one at the Egypt Doughboy, the Laurel Fire Company, Fullerton. Please get out. Please get out, honor our veterans. I'm a veteran. Mr. Ginder's a veteran. You know, it's a special day for us. I know, you know, people have busy lives and such, but we work very, you're welcome. We work very hard to maintain these memorials. And, you know, I follow in generations of military men, and I honor their service. Hopefully, somebody in the future will honor mine. So please pass the word out to your families. Get your children out. Engage them. Let them know a little about the true history of this country and the people who truly made it what it is. That's all I have.
Commissioner Fryman?
I have,
Commissioner Ginder?
I only have one thing to add to what Joe said. The service this year will be a little different in front of the township building. You have both American Legions in the township plus the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Those three organizations are going to combine together to do the service in front of the building here at 11:30. This is something new we're doing, and we're also asking the Whitehall Township Police Color Guard to participate with the veterans organizations. So it'll be a little different out here, and it may be interesting and something to see, hopefully. So just to let you know, it's a little different than other years. We're trying to get a little more. I have nothing else, thanks. Veterans Day, I believe, is the
November
11th.
5th. Or is it the 11th? I thought it was.
Veterans Day is the 11th.
11th is Veterans Day.
First Monday, I'm sorry, the second Monday in November.
And I think the mayor will get those times published on the township website, if that isn't.
Yep.
That's all I have, thank you.
Commissioner Sloniker?
In connection with that, since it's patriotic and everything, just want to remind everybody that before the next regular scheduled meeting, the election is. It's one of these elections where we normally don't get the turnout that we get, which we'll probably have next year, but it's very important because you're here tonight because you're dealing with us and we represent you for what's happening in your neighborhoods and whatnot. So something, just encourage everybody to get out and vote and grab a neighbor, grab anybody, just get out and vote. So.
Commissioner Clary?
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Warren?
One quick thing, was covered in the Whitehall Copley Press already, but a year ago, some folks expressed interest in a pavilion in the Whitehall Parkway. We applied for a grant and was awarded $69,622. Earlier this year, this fall, we applied for another grant. We got $60,000, so $129,622 towards a pavilion in the Parkway, which would potentially include a restroom area. That work, I helped with that. Tony Coca helped with that. Michelle Dragovitz helped with that. The mayor supported it, so a lot of people rowing in the same direction. We were able to get some money, and I'd like to see our money come back. If we can't cut taxes, I'd like to see the money come back to our township when it makes sense. Thanks.
I have nothing further this evening. Mr. Mayor?
For those of you who may have missed it, the Lehigh Valley Dairy's been sold, and we're eager to see that turn into something that's going to help generate additional development down in the southern end of the township on MacArthur Road. I think it's really going to be a great opportunity for us. Jeff mentioned the pavilion, and I think that is going to allow us to utilize that parkway far more effectively than we have We do have some things going on right down there right now. Those of you who haven't taken advantage of the fire department-sponsored hay rides, you might want to consider doing that. Beyond that, I want to note to Joe and Phil that we certainly have not forgotten about our veterans. We honor you every day, and we appreciate that, what you've done. That's about it.
Treasurer's report?
If I may add to yours, there's a lot of openings on boards and committees in the township. You're worried about your township? Get on them. Mary and I can't sit on every one. We are on most of them.
If you're going to sign a sheet over there on the way out and you want to be on a board, let us know. We'll drive you down here and feed you.
And the rail trail is becoming a real burden. And let me just say, the gentlemen and the women who worked on that for years, they're getting older, they're becoming infirmed. There is so much maintenance that's required. And I mean, I honor them. And, you know, we lost Junior recently. He was a big part of that. We need the younger generations or the older generations to step up, go out, and it's, you know, it's actually just a good workout. Just go out there, you know, engage with a group, make new friends, do a little cleanup. It saves us on tax dollars. Our public works people, you know, everybody complains about the streets and the trees and the bushes and the parks and the whole deal. We have to focus a lot of our resources on maintaining that trail. And if we could get our regular public works guys off the trail and get volunteerism out there, you know, that'll go both ways. So, you know, the rail trail, I'm not involved, but I honor those people. You know, get engaged. Tell your friends, family, neighbors. I'm sure everyone in this room has someone that uses that rail trail on a regular basis. That's all I have.
Joe, can I just follow up by
Sure.
saying, we had 196,000 people counted on that trail last year. And it's just going to go through the roof when we get the D&L trail along the Lehigh River. We have people moving here so they can be close to that trail. And it's a great asset. So I don't know that I would be willing to call Ray Byack infirm, because I think he'd take care of me right away. But we can use the help. And anything you can do to help out would be much appreciated.
Parade.
Treasurer's report?
Third installment of school taxes are due December 3rd. The township taxes and the garbage bills are being collected in penalty. Business privilege taxes and licenses will be sent out in November. And the collections from September have been distributed to the township. We're good.
Dennis, can I make one more comment before I?
Okay.
I had forgotten to mention that our parade that was scheduled a week or two ago has been rescheduled because of the weather that night for October 24th. That'll be happening on the school complex. You'll be able to see information on the township website.
One last thing, we will be doing budget hearings here on October 30th and 31st in this township building. They are open to the public. So you can come and give comment on your, how you want your tax money spent. The real trick or treat on the 31st. All right. That's all I got. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second, Phil?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Phil. You want to stay here all night? All right, cool. Thank you.
Yes,
Good, how
you
are you?
did. You helped me out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, Jason.
Yes, it's on a Monday.
Good, bud.
I believe they're gonna have the ceremonies on
Good. Clean living, right?
So it's gonna be on the holiday.
My kid is keeping me busy.
We didn't tell them about this.
Oh, that's great.